What's the most ridiculous decision you've seen someone make in Disney World? Unfortunately, we bet it's on this list. Stay tuned so that you don't slip up too. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Now, Disney vacations can be a lot of things. Magical, fun, exciting, but also challenging, complicated, and expensive. While you might be tempted to skip some planning or forge your own path in the park, we've got ridiculous decisions you should probably steer clear of for your own safety and enjoyment in the parks. First up, not doing the math when buying Disney dining plans, Disney Vacation Club, or other promotions from Disney. So let's start with DVC. Disney Vacation Club can seem really enticing when you're getting that sales pitch. But remember, at the end of the day, it's still a timeshare. If you wouldn't consider a timeshare to a beach or a ski lodge somewhere, try to take those Mickey-shaped glasses off and see clearly if you're making a choice that's right for your family. Many families love DVC and it works really well for them, but it's not without its red flags to consider before you sign up. It costs thousands of dollars to get into the DVC game, and even once you sign up, you're committing to a lengthy purchase, not unlike buying a car or a house. Keep in mind, DVC members face a yearly maintenance fee as well that's quite hefty and can go up over time. So before you sign on the dotted line, just remember what else you can do with that money. Investments, college funds, pay off other debts, and see if the investment is still worth it for your family. Same situation with Disney Dining Plan on a little bit smaller scale. Remember that Disney wouldn't create a plan like this if they weren't making money from it. So unless you plan to eat all of the most expensive foods and drinks everywhere and definitely not waste any credits, you may waste a chunk of change if you're not making the right choices. The Disney Dining Plan makes sense if you like the ease of prepaying for something and not having to get a harsh bill at the end of the trip. Though remember, you still have to pay for gratuity and any out-of-pocket things you buy that aren't on the plan. If you're getting a Disney dining plan with any flexibility, like the new Plus plan or the Deluxe plan, keep in mind that to actually be coming out in the green, you'll need to max out on table services rather than spend credits on cheaper quick service meals. This can mean much less time in the parks and on rides, and much more time sitting and eating. Really, check that math on that DDP, and if your family doesn't plan to make the most of it, you may want to consider paying out of pocket for food costs. Don't forget, over on dfbstore.com, we've got the DFB Guide to Walt Disney World Dining, where we compare all the plans for you and break down the costs for each day of your trip in Disney World to see if it makes sense for you to buy the dining plan or if it makes sense for you to pay out of pocket. You can pick up that guide over at dfbstore.com, and don't forget to use code YouTube for a discount. Now, don't forget also to compare special offers. Disney offers discounted rooms, free dining, many other promotions throughout the year. It can be well worth the time to do the math and see which offer is actually going to save you the most money. You might be surprised. This can help you decide if you're really going to get value out of that dining plan. Now, if free dining is offered, is the savings you'd get by not having to pay for that food really as much as you'd save if you got a discounted room rate? It's a good idea to break it down. Next ridiculous decision people make in Disney World: forcing the kids to ride rides or meet characters that scare them or they're not ready for. We've seen this situation too many times. We hate to admit we're even guilty of it ourselves at times. You've been pumped to ride the Flight of Passage or Tower of Terror or Space Mountain. You checked at home, your kid's tall enough, your whole family's pumped to ride, but then the kiddo gets cold feet. Despite all the planning in the world, sometimes your kid's gonna throw you a curveball, you guys. They may be absolutely terrified of a ride they were so excited for at home once they're actually standing in front of it. I know it can be hard to pump the brakes and change gears when you had a plan in mind, but your best bet here is to listen to your kid. It's better to sit out the ride with your kid than have them traumatized by something they're trying to tell you they're not ready for. Forcing your kid to experience something typically doesn't end with great results, trust me. Now, don't forget that you can take advantage of rider swap. If a kid throws you a curveball, doesn't want to ride the ride, use the rider swap option, which means both adults get to ride separately so someone can be sitting with the child outside. And remember, rider swap is totally okay to use with bigger kids too. It's not just for kids who are too short to ride, and it's fine to use rider swap if you need to be outside the ride with someone who isn't a child as well. Here's how it works. Simply have the family members riding, tell the cast member at the entrance you have a kiddo sitting it out, and they'll give the riders a rider switch that whoever sat out can use after the riders return. If it's just a matter of mustering up some courage, ride or switch is good for an hour after your first group ride, so your kid can clear their head, see if they want to give it a shot, and hear from those in your party who rode when they return. If not, you and 2 others still have the opportunity to ride. The other tough situation you may find yourself experiencing is meeting characters. Maybe you nabbed that tough-to-score breakfast reservation at Chef Mickey's, and right as your kid sees Pluto, instead of a face full of smiles, they look absolutely terrified. So what do? Well, if you're in a restaurant, assure your kid they don't have to meet the characters if they don't want to. Yes, this will mean a few missed pictures and autographs, but again, listening to your kid and their needs is more important than a few pictures in the long run. If your kid doesn't want to interact with characters, be sure to tell your server as soon as you sit down. They'll let the character attendants know to skip your table. If a character does come up to your table, they're very intuitive if they see a scared child and won't approach or frighten them, so no need to worry about Mickey springing up behind your traumatized kid. If you're out in the parks, simply avoid lining up to meet the characters if you have a kid scared to meet them. Maybe seeing them in the parks at a distance could help them warm up to the idea, or if your kiddo's old enough, try starting a conversation about what scares them. For many kids, it can often be specific characters that frighten them, like Pluto and Goofy with their pointy-looking whiskers. Try to figure out if there's a specific part of the characters or one character in particular that scares them, and you might find some that they're alright with meeting, like face characters or princess perhaps. But either way, of course, as we always say here on DFB, you know your kids the best. Some kids just need a little push to go on those rides that they're scared of, and some really should be kept off the ride. It's up to you to make that choice. Now, speaking of pushing, our next ridiculous decision people make all the time in Walt Disney World. We see it all the time, people pushing themselves and their kids way too hard, trying to make it just one more hour on one more ride, and really everyone would be better off taking a midday nap. We know a few park commandos who can pull off the early morning to late night, but even most of them aren't going to do that every single day of their trip. But if you're traveling with little kids, try not to push them too hard. Quality over quantity. You're not really getting your money's worth out of that ticket if you're dealing with temper tantrums from missed nap times. Kids don't become magically different kids at Disney World. They're going to be the same as they are at home and will do a lot better if they stay on their normal schedule. We promise. We know this from experience. Also, while we're at it, don't forget that you and your spouse can also have temper tantrums. Self-care, my friends. Kids or no kids, you need to take care of you. Get enough sleep, eat enough, and don't forget, stay hydrated. This one can never be said enough. The fourth ridiculous decision people make in Disney World is ignoring the cast members. This next one is unfortunately a very regular occurrence that we see all the time, and it's truly redonk. Ignoring cast members, not smart. Cast members are there to make your trip the very best it can be. That's literally their job. So when they ask you to do something or direct you somewhere, please, please, please listen. It's very likely for your safety. And even if you've been to Disney World 1,000 times, things may have changed since you last visited. So the instructions on a particular attraction or in a particular area of the park may be different than what you remember. Whether they're checking your seatbelt, helping you to exit a ride, or asking you to step into the taped off area during parades and fireworks, do what the cast member tells you. Also, please be nice. These people are working day in and day out, sometimes for crazy long hours, to make sure your Disney trip is everything you imagined it would be. I promise they're not trying to mess with you. They're trying to make your trip better. Next ridiculous decision people make in Disney World is not watching the weather or keeping an eye on the weather every day. If you've never experienced the joys of Florida weather, it can be a bit of a surprise for some guests. The Sunshine State can often be everything but. Florida weather can be notoriously unpredictable, usually in regard to rain. We're talking torrential downpours that can pop up seemingly out of the blue. Give it a few minutes, it may be sunny again, or it might storm for days. Check that weather before you travel to Disney, as well as each morning before you hit the parks. If you're traveling in the winter months, it actually can get really, really chilly, so pack layers to keep warm if needed. And I always recommend bringing a scarf. It's easy to pack, doesn't take up a lot of room, but can mean a big difference for you in terms of staying warm. Now, if rain is in the forecast, pack those ponchos or umbrellas from home to save on purchasing the pricier ones in the parks. Rain can mean outdoor ride closures, so you may want to adjust your Fastpass if a day looks particularly rainy to avoid any that may be closed due to weather. This is especially important in the summer months. It's not at all uncommon for a daily afternoon rainstorm in Florida, so be mindful when you book those fast passes in the afternoon for outdoor rides, like Test Track, Slinky Dog Dash, Kali River Rapids, Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain. There's a fair chance you could get hit with a flash storm rolling by and the ride can be closed during your fast pass time. You'll want to check daily to see what to throw in your park bag: ponchos, rain covers for strollers, etc. And another one people don't think of as often: what shoes and clothes to wear. If you're schlepping through rain puddles all day, you'll want shoes and clothes that can stand up to that. Squishy wet shoes and wet pant legs all day is not particularly comfortable, especially with the miles you walk in a day at Disney. I always recommend don't wear those flip-flops on the days you know it's going to rain. Wear your sandals with a back strap so that they're not slipping off your feet most of the time. I've seen too many barefoot people carrying their flip-flops through Disney World. Dressing for the weather is definitely important. And remember your kids too. If you have a kid averse to getting wet, toss an extra pair of clothes and socks in your bag to let them change just in case. We've prevented many meltdowns this way. Not just rides can be affected by the rain though. Keep in mind that during high winds or rain, the Skyliner will close. So if you're at a hotel or park dependent on the Skyliners for transportation, if you're expecting to use a Skyliner to get to your next location, you may need to make alternate travel plans, so just be prepared. By the way, on a recent trip, I was trying to get to Hollywood Studios from Epcot, and the Hollywood Studios line was shut down. So I actually took a Skyliner to Caribbean Beach, and I had to get a lift from Caribbean Beach to Hollywood Studios, which was a tiny little 5-minute ride, but I actually had to go through the process to do that. So again, leave yourself plenty of time to get from here to there, because you never know when things are going to be closed, shut down, your transportation options aren't working appropriately, etc. All right, next ridiculous decision people make in Disney World, and I do this all the time: wasting money on the Park Hopper or Park Hopper Plus option when you don't end up using it. We get it. You want to be prepared in advance. Have all your options open if you happen to get a fast pass in another park and need to hop over. I understand. Keep in mind, you can check out fast passes in any park, even if you only have a base ticket. So even if you've made all 3 fast passes in Magic Kingdom, you can still see what's available at Hollywood Studios and cancel and rebook those fast passes if you find something you prefer. Park hoppers can be super useful for some families and not needed for others, but just remember, if you're looking to jump to another park to have dinner or get on a ride, you'll need a park hopper. But you can add a Park Hopper and Park Hopper Plus option to your ticket at any time when you're in Disney World. Any ticket counter can help you quickly add this on, but you'll be charged for the length of your ticket if you add it, not just for the days you have remaining, so bear that in mind. So say you want Park Hopper, you've got 2 days left on a 7-day ticket, you'll be charged for a Park Hopper for all 7 days of that ticket, not just those last 2. Upgrading at the parks can be especially beneficial if your family decides last minute they really want to go to a water park like Typhoon Lagoon. See if the upgrade cost is lower than a single-day ticket to the water park, and it may be worth the upgrade. Just be careful with Park Hopper Plus. I understand adding Park Hopper just in case, but Park Hopper Plus, this one's more expensive, so be careful about adding that unless you're sure you're going to use it enough to get your money's worth. Next ridiculous decision people make in Disney World: not learning how My Disney Experience works and getting your whole family connected ahead of time. Well before your trip, make sure you download and familiarize yourself with the My Disney Experience app. When it comes to booking fast passes, you want to make sure everyone in your group is linked together as friends and family before your booking window opens. Most likely, one member of your group will book everyone's fast passes, so you'll need to make sure you're all linked together so that someone can make fast pass selections for all of you. For kids too young to set up their own MDE account, parents can create their profiles and manage their settings for them. Their accounts will be listed as managed by the adult that set up the account. Once you're at Disney World, having and understanding how to use MDE can make your days go much smoother. It's a powerful tool to have in the parks too. My Disney Experience can show you wait times for rides, navigation to just about anything, including bathrooms, and even lets you see full menus at restaurants or order food on your phone and skip the lines. A new and majorly important use of My Disney Experience, and knowing the basics of it, can be when you're trying to book boarding groups for Rise of the Resistance. Rise has only been open a couple months, but there's still a frenzy each morning of guests waiting before Hollywood Studios opens to get in and score those tough-to-nab boarding groups. Those are often gone for the day within minutes of park opening. If you want to try and tackle getting a Rise group, you want your whole party linked in My Disney Experience, and all of you have to be inside the park. Once everyone's inside and the park officially opens, you can open the My Disney Experience app, and on the main page, it's seriously the first thing you see. You'll see click here to join a boarding group. Only one person needs to get a boarding group for your whole party. You can connect everybody during the process. process. And the next ridiculous decision people make in Disney World, not learning how Fastpass works before you go. I include this because no matter how much we talk about it, I still talk to people in the parks who think crazy things about Fastpass. We get a lot of questions and comments all the time. And sorry guys, you still have a lot of the wrong information. Yes, you can get more than 3 Fastpasses per day, but you've got to book those first 3 and use them, or let the window to use them expire before you can book an additional one at a time. Keep in mind, in parks with a tiered Fastpass system, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom, you will only be able to initially select one Tier 1 Fastpass. Your other 2 will need to be from Tier 2. After you use all 3, you can book anything available, Tier 1 or 2. And no, guys, you don't have to use those kiosks to book Fastpasses. I just talked to somebody on Slinky Dog Dash who thought she had to use a kiosk in the park to make Fastpasses. Not true. You can book from My Disney Experience on your phone or on the website 60 days out for resort guests, 30 days out for non-resort guests, and pass holders not staying in a resort. In the parks, My Disney Experience is usually going to be your best bet when it comes to Fastpasses. It's fast and easy to see what's available, make a selection on the fly, and change your current Fastpasses. You can still use the kiosks if you like, but by no means do you have to, and especially since they're spread out in the parks, My Disney Experience will be much quicker on the day of. We have lots of videos and blog posts about this. Study up on FAQs, make sure you're prepared when you go in, and get the most for your money. And remember, time is money. Waiting in line for something you could have fast passed means you're not riding as many rides as you could, and you're not getting your money's worth for your ticket in Walt Disney World. So there are a bunch of crazy, ridiculous decisions people make in Disney World, and we hope that this has saved some of you from making those decisions. Do the math before you buy expensive things. Figure out if it makes sense to make your kids go on certain rides or meet certain characters. Take breaks when you're in the parks. Don't push your family too hard, and make sure to pay attention to those cast members. They're only doing what they need to do to keep you guys safe. Don't forget to watch the weather. Don't waste money on things you don't need and aren't going to use. And make sure you know how the processes work to make the best possible trip you can. We can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. Leave us comments about some ridiculous decisions you've seen people make in Disney World as well. It helps everybody watching to learn from your experiences too. Thank you guys for listening, and thanks for watching. This is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.